Okay, so by now you should have figured out your audience and your purpose. You should have figured out how to create your resume and be working on that. And now you are ready to draft your cover letter. The cover letter is a really important piece of your application if you are, in fact, submitting a cover letter. There are positions now that are moving away from cover letters, but it's still pretty standard. I haven't seen any jobs recently that don't want a cover letter of some sort. So it is still a very important skill to have to develop your own cover letter. So the cover letter is something that sort of fills in the gaps between what's on your resume, the facts, and you, the person. So the cover letter is to kind of make you a real person for the person who's looking at your resume. The emphasis, tone, and style need to fit the employer's expectations. So that's getting in there and understanding your audience and what they're expecting. That's really important to your cover letter as well as your resume. The resume and the cover letter should be equivalent in tone, style, and design. There shouldn't be like some big disconnect between them. So a lot of times you will see matching cover letter and resume templates, like they come sort of in pairs, or if there's say an elegant resume, there will be an elegant cover letter option for templates. So you want to make sure that you are really using the same tone, the same style, the same design, and that you are matching what the potential employer expects. So in your handbook on page 35, there is a writer's checklist, and I have provided some of that checklist here, slightly modified. But you want to provide context by referring to the job ad or mentioning how you learned about a possible opening. You want to match the tone of the letter to the language of the job post. You want to show how the job is appropriate for you. You want to avoid copying sections from the post. You want to, know the language well so that you can meet the needs of that language. You can match that language, but you do not want to just copy their post into your letter. You want to show how you are an excellent candidate for this employer. And you want to describe any areas that maybe you don't quite meet the standards, but you're in process of that. So you want to, include that there as well. And then if you do have, say, a gap in your resume because you had to take time off for one of those reasons we talked about before, this is a great place to explain that, where you would explain that, from 2016 to 2018, you left the workforce so that you could take care of a family member who was undergoing cancer treatments or whatever the reason was, or from 2004 to 2016, you were not in the workforce because you were raising young children. Whatever the situation was, this is a really good place in your cover letter to address that, to give the heads up about it, so that when prospective employers are looking at your resume, they have a context for that gap. Right. So if you look in your handbook on pages 33, 34, and 465, you have the job posting, you have the cover letter, and you have the resume. And if you look carefully at those, you will be able to see how they fit together. So you can see how the writer creates connections from one item to the next. We have some highlighted information here that is used in both the cover letter and the resume. So you want to take a few minutes and look at those items side by side, or while flipping back and forth in the pages, and so that you can see how they fit together, how they connect one to another. All right. Never treat your cover letter as an afterthought. Even though it's typically written after the resume, don't treat it as an afterthought. It is just as important, if not more important, depending on the position and on the strength of your resume, than the resume. So you want to read that job post carefully, know what the employer is looking for, and how you're expected to apply. You want to make yourself memorable. So how can you do that? What character qualities can you emphasize? Do you have any connection with the reader or the organization worth mentioning? What are your key qualifications that match the key qualifications the company is seeking? How can you embody the qualities the organization seeks through your cover letter? Why do you want to work for this company? Make sure you understand that and communicate that in your resume or in your cover letter. And then what can you say that is genuine and positive about the position or the organization, and include that again in your cover letter. So there are three main parts of a cover letter. You have the opening, and your job there, just like any other introduction or opening, is to get the reader's attention and get them to keep reading. So if possible, figure out the name of the person who is going to be looking at your resume first. Or if not first, figure out who the team leader, the project leader, the division supervisor, who is the person, the boss person who's going to be potentially interviewing you. Get that person's name and address your letter to that person. You don't want to have to write to whom it may concern. If anything else, write dear hiring manager. Don't write to whom it may concern. Get to the point as quickly as possible. Okay, this is not like a long 10-page research essay where your introduction might take a page or two. This is a 1 or 2 sentence opening. Get to the point as quickly as possible, focus on what matters, provide the context. So that might be your connection to the organization, that might be how you heard about the position, but whatever it is, provide a little bit of context and show your enthusiasm. Then quickly move into the body, because this is the meat. This is what the people want to see. In this section, you're going to show how you're qualified and what value you bring. So think about these questions that are listed on here, and how can you answer those questions, as many of those as you want, but you don't want to just simply repeat everything that's on your resume. Okay, your cover letter can refer to your resume, but it really needs to add something more. It needs to make your resume come alive, make you a real living human being. And then your closing, it needs to be formal, it needs to be positive, and it needs to convey warmth. You need to ask for an interview. Don't just leave it up to the person to offer it to you. Ask for what you want. Ask for an interview. Provide the contact information that you want them to use. End with a thank you and a positive statement of goodwill. And then you want sincerely, comma, and then on the next line, you want your full name, your first and last name. You don't have to include your middle name unless you want to. Right? So you want this cover letter, it needs to move quickly. So it's not a long, lengthy letter to grandma. This is a boom, boom, boom kind of letter. One note, proofread excessively, revise and edit carefully. Remember that this cover letter is your way of showing the potential employer that you have the written communication skills they are looking for. And if you paid attention to one of the earlier videos for job searching, we talked about how employers rank written communication at the top of their list of the skills that they are looking for, the qualities they're looking for in prospective employees. Again, this link goes to the assignment instruction sheet. So definitely make sure you take a look at that you can use it as a checklist and know exactly what it is you're expected to include in your cover letter. Your assignments, again, your resume with your cover letter are submitted on Blackboard by noon on Monday, the 6th of June. And then things that I would like you to read before next week are these sections from your handbook on presentations, global communications, and international correspondence.